All right, guys, let's talk about Florida, UF, Missouri, another L. Um, Not, fun game to watch. Florida was in that one. Florida should have and could have won that game, just like the Arkansas game. Billy gets tight, loses it at the end, makes some bad decisions. Defense makes some bad decisions. Um, Bad execution, which again, the players got to make the plays, but it's on the coaches. There's bad decisions coming out of timeouts, procedural penalties. 4th and 17, to give that up is just completely unacceptable. At the end of the day, it still falls on Billy's shoulders, whether he's the head coach, the OC, the defense, whatever. Austin Armstrong in this defense, the scheme is fine. I do think it's a little overcomplicated at this point if they're still struggling, these young guys. We've got to simplify things for them. There'll be another year in the system next year. I do think you'll see a massive jump and improvement next year over this year on defense. I mean, we have to, obviously. If we don't, they're not going to have a job. But I do think that next year this is a top, 20 defense. I did have higher hopes this year. I predicted top 50, top 40 defense. I was way off. We started the first 4 games that way. These guys definitely don't get a push or get pressure like I thought they would on the line. We did take a lot of big injuries that impacted this team more than I thought they would. Some of these younger guys, another year in the weight room. Hopefully, they make some improvements in strength and conditioning because these guys don't look like they have the speed or the power that they should. So hopefully we see some changes there. Some of these younger guys I thought would get off the edge a little bit better, like TJ Searcy has kind of disappeared as of late. Yuma Million's been great. If he had Justice Boone on the other side, I think that would make a world of difference. Getting in the backfield and getting more sacks this year. So that definitely hurt Florida. Not having Shamar James was a big one for us. I mean, you can just see it. It's just crazy the difference between Florida's defense with and without him. So there is some excuses there. But even with Shamar, they weren't playing well. They had bad games with him out there, too. So, and there's a lot of talent, a lot of blue chip guys that I would have expected to play better even as freshmen. You got to develop those freshmen. They're veterans at this point. They're not young guys. That excuse is gone completely for me. Nick Delatorre says the same thing. These are not freshmen anymore. You'll hear any coach say it. We're at the end of the season. These guys should be executing better than they are. That falls on the coaches. I do believe there will be staff changes. I heard from a source, though, a booster from inside the program, that there will be changes after the season. Probably not as quickly or as fast as we would like. I hope that's wrong. I hope as soon as Florida State's over, the week after, we see some guys go. At least one staff change to get the fan base re-engaged and some positive momentum to change the narrative and the storyline. You're probably going to be a little surprised by my pick. I mean, obviously, I did not expect Florida to beat Missouri. I did think we would be competitive in that game, though, and we were. Again, guys, I mean, we're literally a field goal and a few better coaching decisions and a touchdown instead of a field goal at the end of that game, staying in bounds if ETN doesn't go out of bounds, from having 7 wins. And before the year, like I said, this team absolutely should not be a 5-win team. We should have won 7 games this year. We should have never lost to Kentucky. Heck, in my opinion, this team should have and had the talent to win 8 games. So that is on coaching. That's a failure at the coaching job of this team to fail and back-to-back, not even back-to-back, 3 straight losing seasons. I mean, we're setting records at Florida now that go all the way back to the beginning of our program's history for all-time worst defensive performance, all-time losing records. I mean, it's literally, you have to go back, almost before records were even kept to get back to some of these stats that Florida's putting out on defense and as a program. And some guys, I'm taking some heat for some of my comments. I'm a sarcastic guy. I'm realistic. I call it like I see it, even if people don't like it. I'm not looking for clicks or likes. I'm just covering the team. I like to talk football. And when Florida's up and Florida's good, we're going to talk about it. We're going to praise it. We're going to celebrate it. I'm happy about it. Loved it after Tennessee. I eat my crow on Mertz. Love the guy. Looked like Tebow out there trucking people. Hated to see him go down. Man, can you imagine if we had Mertz for this weekend, and they had lost, Jordan Travis, which I hope has a speedy recovery. I feel so bad for the guy. I don't wish that on any kid or player, no matter what team they play for. I hope he recovers quickly and gets back, to doing what he loves to do. I'm sure his career is probably over. He'll probably get on a practice squad or at least get an opportunity, but I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. Similar to Graham Mertz, I don't think Mertz has the skill set or the talent to play in the NFL. I do think he could make a roster, maybe as a backup or something like that, but just don't see him being a successful starter or anything like that in the NFL. Maybe a QB 2 or 3 somewhere. But man, for a college quarterback, I'd love to get Mertz back for another year if he's somehow able to do that. I don't know how he still has any eligibility left, but people are talking about he can come back for another year, I'm assuming because of COVID. So, yeah, I mean, that would be big time for Florida's program to give Lagway a year to develop. But, Florida should have won that game. Like I said, Missouri's a very talented team, in my opinion. 2 losses on the year. That is a top 10 team. And Florida has improved. We have gotten better. It's just Billy did this at Louisiana. He won a lot of close games. Billy did not blow people out at Louisiana. A lot of people have to go back and look at his record. He was successful, but he played very conservative and very scared at the end of games. And those one-score games, they're 50-50. They're coin tosses. And a lot of those just have not gone his way as of late. So, it's different at Florida. You can't play that way. You have to be more explosive on offense. You have to play good defense, and you've got to get some separation in some of these games. Florida's just not good enough to win a lot of those games. We've become a losing mentality type of team, and these guys don't quit. They don't stop fighting. They play to the end. But losing, when you lose so much, it becomes a habit. It just does. I mean, unfortunately, you look at a lot of teams that have just been bad for so long. It's so hard to get out of that funk once you get in it. And I think that's where Florida's at as a program right now. So we'll have to see if Billy can get it turned around. I know his class is looking really well. Lost some guys. There's still some guys looking around. But I think the core of the class is going to stick. There is a couple guys. Nasir flipped. I called that. So he's gone. But we're just going to have to wait and see how they finish. I see some names. Teddy Foster. Obviously, these are lower-ranked guys, 3 stars. But still, we need the depth. We need these guys. Position of need. DB. So he's a guy that I think is going to commit to Florida soon. Solid guy. Can play safety or corner. So there's some guys coming up that make some commitments. I still like Florida's class. I do think we'll actually finish top 10. If we get a win over Florida State, 6-6, and can go get a bowl game and grab a W, get 7 wins, I still would be happy with this season. And I think everybody else would too. My prediction with Max Brown at quarterback, we'll have to see. That kid showed me something Saturday. He's got swag. He's got uber loads of confidence. I do think that Florida wins this game. I think we beat Florida State. The line is a 6.5-point line, and we're at home. We've played pretty well at home. That home crowd, it's a night game. It's going to be loud in there. It's going to be rocking. Last game of the year. I think it's going to really affect Florida State, especially the younger quarterback. Playing on the road in a loud environment like that. I do think we're one of the best teams they've played all year. That says a lot about their schedule. I think you're going to see Florida pull the W out in this game. I'm looking at something like 27-20. I think Max Brown is going to show some people some stuff that they're going to be like, wow, this kid can ball. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's a little bit of an Anthony Richardson. So when we had Anthony, we played Florida State very close and probably should have and could have won that game on their home turf last year with a lot of the same guys that are on that same Florida State roster. So Max Brown, to me, has a lot of the same skill set. He can run it. He's fast. He runs that read option, that zone read game. I mean, better than most quarterbacks I've ever seen run it. He's very efficient with that. He's very good at that fake and pulling it and keeping it. So look for that to continue in the offense. I think with his running element, ETN and Montrell Johnson, we are going to run all over Florida State. I know people probably don't believe that. I do think our offensive line coach has got to be changed out because they have misjudged who should be starting on this offensive line. Um, I'm sorry, but Lindell Hudson to me is better than Damian George and should have been the starting tackle from the start of the season. We ran the ball better losing the offensive lineman than we did with the starters in, with George in, even though he was playing out of position, than we did with those guys in the game. Now, a lot of that was because of Max Brown, but I just thought we looked more effective moving the ball. And the kid's got an arm. Nice throw to Ricky Pearsall. Beautiful throw to Khalil Jackson. So I look for more of that. I hope that Billy can get creative in the run game. We've got to give the ball. We need ETN to have 15 touches in this game. Eugene Wilson's got to have 12 to 15 touches. Get the playmakers the ball. Get them in space. Easy throws. Some of those quick sideline passes to Eugene Wilson. Get some screens going out of the backfield to ETN. And I personally think because Mertz was not a deep ball guy, you're going to see a couple deep balls thrown in this game. We're going to try to take advantage of that because the kid's got a cannon for an arm, and you obviously saw that just dime he threw to Khalil Jackson. I believe Florida hits 2 explosive plays, and I think they need the explosives in this game down the middle of the field for touchdowns. So I think Max Brown's having a coming out party Saturday. He's going to put up 200 yards passing, probably, 80 to 100 yards rushing. I just think he's going to ball out. He come in an emergency situation and ran this offense very effectively. If he can get down, his timing was off. I know he fumbled the ball, but he's a young guy. He hasn't been getting the reps probably in practice. So that was just a rhythm thing and just not being, completely ready to go, being in tune with your running back. But a full week of him in game prep, I think he's going to come out and light the world on fire. And who knows, he may come back next year. I don't think he's the starter. I still think he's a very good backup quarterback. But he's going to compete for that job next year. He really is. I think he should focus on football. He plays baseball for Florida. The kid's a very talented athlete. But I love seeing what he did on the field. I think that this is the Super Bowl for the Gators. This is our bowl game if we don't go to one for some reason. But I don't think Billy would reject that opportunity. That's 15 practice for these young guys that they absolutely need. If we can keep this class in the top 5 and add a few more pieces, Grimsley, another guy, is visiting Florida. I think he's a guy that Florida could get. And there's a few A&M guys out there that Florida's looking at. Got the transfer kid that was committed that flipped to Georgia from my hometown up here in Milton, Florida. So we're looking at him. He might transfer. We definitely need more guys at wide receiver with Pearsall leaving to the NFL. But if he keeps his class top 5, makes the correct staff changes in the offseason, absolutely this team could be a 10-win team next year. It's going to be talented enough. Now, the young talent is going to have to play early. The way to be successful and the way for him to make all this work, because the staff changes, the recruiting classes are still not enough. A lot of these young guys are playing. This class, we can't expect to all rely on nothing but true freshmen and redshirt freshmen and sophomores next year. The transfer portal in the fall is going to be absolutely key, in my opinion, to Florida's success. What we do in the portal is massive. There is a Penn State transfer that's been offered by Florida. I don't want to put any names out there or anything right now because I just don't want to jinx it. I'm hoping Florida goes hard after these guys. That's a good sign. They're starting early. They're already evaluating guys. They got to be. They cannot be slow in the portal. There was too much, we need your tape, and the evaluation process at Florida was taking way too long. Cheryl Bird needs to be fired. Apparently that was his job. Well, by the time we offered a guy, he's committing somewhere, or he's already on campus at Florida State. There are several guys we battled them for that we lost out on, and just they beat us to it. And we're just too slow, following these guys on Twitter or whatever it is they're doing. Kids, why would you need tape on a kid who's already played a year, 2, 3 years out of school? You got all the tape you need right there. If the kid's a playmaker, go get him. NIL today, Florida's got the money. I don't want to hear that. Yes, we don't have the money that some other schools have. But those schools are few and far between. We're talking about maybe Georgia, Bama, A&M. I don't want to hear that we can't compete with a Florida State or anybody like that. I promise you we have deeper pockets than Florida State. So, a lot of what I saw in that game, I mean, Mertz, like I said, guys, props to him. I mean, heck of a season with 2,900 yards, 20 touchdowns, less than 5 interceptions. Just the kid is a baller. I mean, I know he does take some sacks and he holds on the ball too long. So he does have his faults and he did hurt the offense at times. He was limited in the downfield passing game. But for what he was asked to do and what we were expecting of him before the season, he was more than capable. Man, as old as he is, he could be like a Stetson Bennett at Georgia, being 25, 26 years old, playing college football. Um, Another year in the system, if he could just add that deep ball to his game or get that downfield passing going with the talent coming in, Florida can absolutely compete for that top 12 next year in that playoff. I do believe that. But again, we got to get, if Billy wants to call plays, this offense has improved. It has gotten better. I still would love to get an offensive coordinator if I'm being honest. But I'm going to give Billy credit where credit's due. The offense has gotten better. It is still limited. The scripted drives are his best. After that, things I can't talk. Still seem very disjointed at times and very predictable. Some of the play calls aren't great in pressure situations. So a lot of weird third down calls. One of the things I think he could do if he decides to keep calling plays is hire somebody like a Joe Brady as a passing game coordinator to really develop the passing game, because that's where we're hurting the most right there. If he gets that, make some changes at some of the coordinator spots. I mean, the defensive position coach spots. Defensive line, I like our coach. I love Spencer. I think C. Ray's got to go. DB has not been impressive. Linebacker to me has not been impressive, but we've got a heck of a class at linebacker, so you can't really get rid of that coach. Really, I guess the only spot, is either coordinator, which I like Austin Armstrong, but I think DB's got to make a change, so we'll see. But yeah, I think Florida gets the W and beats Florida State this weekend. So that's where I'm at, guys. Go Gators.